Hey, beautiful souls. Welcome to Signals and Standards with Susie, the show where we decode mixed messages, raise the bar, and serve up real talk with a side of empowerment. I'm your host, Susie, your go-to for truth bombs, clarity, and the kind of tough love that gets you unstuck and back in the driver's seat of your life. Together, let's turn those signals into action. Welcome back to Signals and Standards with Susie, the show where we keep it real, we keep it relatable, and we keep you rising to new heights. One conversation, one insight, one aha moment at a time. I'm your host, Susie, your guide, your coach, your sounding board, and that gentle but firm nudge that reminds you it's time to step back into the driver's seat of your own life. Today, we're diving into something maybe that you think you've got under control until you realize it's actually controlling you. I'm talking about your relationship with your screens. Yes, that tiny glowing rectangle that follows you everywhere like an over-attached situationship that you never agreed to. Let's be honest. Have you ever looked up from your phone and wondered how 45 minutes just disappeared? Have you ever felt mentally drained, emotionally foggy, or strangely disconnected even though you've been connected all day long? Or maybe you've had that moment, don't lie, we all have, when you grab your phone before your first conscious thought, before your feet hit the floor, before you even remember who you are. Even doom scrolling in the middle of the night when you can't sleep. If any of that sounds familiar, this episode is your loving wake-up call. Not a slap on the wrist, not a judgment, just an invitation. An invitation to step back into you. Because this isn't really about screen time. This is about your time. This is about reclaiming moments, the energy, the joy, the clarity, and the mental space that your devices have quietly been hijacking. Here's a thought. What if the biggest thing standing between you and the life you want is the screen you keep escaping to? If that question hits, stay with me. This episode might shift something big. So buckle in, breathe out, and let's get into this detox glow up, because it's time to reconnect with real life and, more importantly, with yourself. Let's start with what the research says, because honestly, the science is speaking louder than your notifications, more audible than your group chats buzzing at midnight, and way noisier than that irresistible just one more scroll impulse. And some of these findings, they're reality checks we didn't even know we needed. A recent study published through the National Library of Medicine found that constant digital stimulation dramatically increases cognitive load, pushing your brain into a state where its ability to regulate emotions, manage stress, and maintain focus starts to break down. In simple terms, your brain was never designed to navigate a 24/7 amusement park of content. Videos, reels, ads, reminders, and algorithm-driven emotional triggers masquerading as entertainment. We're living in a mental traffic jam and your nervous system is stuck honking behind it, exhausted for reasons that don't even make sense. Or does it? Psychology expands on this idea with the concept of digital fog, a subtle but powerful blend of mental exhaustion, emotional numbness, irritability, and decision fatigue that appears even on days when you've done nothing. That fog isn't laziness, it's overstimulation. It's your brain saying, I need a break, not another scroll. And yet, because these apps are designed to bypass your rational brain and hook your emotional one, you reach for your phone anyway. This loop creates a baseline of stress you get used to until feeling overwhelmed becomes your new normal. The solution might be more straightforward than you think, though. Short, intentional digital breaks. Something as basic as turning off non-essential notifications, putting your phone in another room at night, or creating tech-free windows in your day. Those small choices, they can reset your nervous system, they can improve your sleep, enhance your mood, and really sharpen your cognitive clarity. In fact, stepping away from screens for as little as 48 to 72 hours can increase creativity, can regulate your stress hormones, can also help your mind return to its natural rhythm. It's like a mental cleanse. You step out of the noise and suddenly your brain exhales. Here's another critical consideration: dopamine. Chronic scrolling actually overstimulates your dopamine pathways to the point where everyday life starts feeling oddly flat. That's why conversations feel dull, meals taste unexciting, and simple routines seem boring. You've trained your brain to crave constant novelty. A digital detox restores dopamine balance, allowing joy to return to places where it always existed, but it couldn't be felt. What are you getting when you compulsively scroll? You're getting intermittent rewards, comparison loops, distraction based coping, and how apps are engineered with behavioral design to keep you hooked. Once you understand the psychology, you begin to recognize how much of your engagement is actually manipulation. Awareness becomes power, and once you see the game clearly, you finally get to choose whether you want to keep playing or not. An article in Psychology Today that really resonated with me called the digital detox a return to self-regulated presence. A beautiful phrase that captures something we've lost without realizing it: intentional ownership of our attention. They highlight 3 essential truths that detox illuminates. You do not have to be constantly available. Your attention is a resource, not a giveaway, and genuine connection, deep, meaningful, fulfilling connection, still lives offline. When you create healthier digital boundaries, your relationships improve, misunderstandings decrease, emotional attunement increases, and our conversations with others become richer because you're actually present instead of half listening while your mind is still in your notifications. But here's the part most people still underestimate: digital toxicity. And I don't just mean the news cycle or the endless comparison traps. I'm talking about the online friendships that drain you, the accounts that spike your anxiety, the content that makes you question your worth, and the DM dynamics that feel like emotional clutter. As I say often, your digital space is part of your emotional space. Don't forget that. If someone or something is draining you, it's costing you peace, and you'll never get that back. Think your digital life like your closet. If you wouldn't wear it, if it doesn't fit who you're becoming, if it makes you uncomfortable every time you see it, why do you keep holding on to it? Clearing your digital space isn't about restriction. It's about alignment. It's about creating room for mental clarity, authentic joy, and real presence to return. And now here's the part nobody wants to hear, but everyone needs to. If you don't detox, if you don't reclaim your control, there's consequences. Yeah, real ones. Your brain will continue to burn out under constant stimulation. Your dopamine levels will stay dysregulated. Your relationships will start to feel distant, distracted, maybe even disconnected. Your patience will shrink. Your creativity will dry up. Your anxiety will creep higher and higher and higher. Also, your attention span will weaken, and your sense of self will slowly erode under the weight of constant comparison with others. And your time, your most precious non-renewable resource, it's going to slip away in small, quiet, unnoticed chunks. You won't feel the damage day by day. You'll feel it months later when you wake up and wonder why you feel so drained, so disconnected, so uninspired. Digital overload doesn't hit like a storm. It accumulates like dust, slowly, silently, and invisibly until one day you realize you can't see clearly anymore. But here's the beautiful truth. You can clear it. You can start today, and the reset is more accessible than you think. Replace binge scrolling with nourishment. 10 minutes of journaling to give your thoughts space to breathe. A walk that forces your eyes off the screen and back into the world. Baking something for no reason other than the joy, and calling someone who makes you laugh until you snort. Reading a book that reminds you that your imagination is still alive. Sitting in silence for 5 uninterrupted minutes. Yes, silence still exists, even in the digital world. And here's something I love to bring into the conversation about reconnecting with life offline. Kathleen Killam's TED Talk, Why Social Health is Key to Happiness and Longevity, she makes a critical point that when we talk about health, we usually focus on physical fitness or mental wellness, which is all great. But we often forget about social health, our sense of connection, belonging, and meaningful relationships. She shares a story of Maya, a woman who exercised regularly and attended therapy but still felt unfulfilled. Why? Because despite caring for her body and mind, she had neglected her social connections. It's a great reminder that wellness isn't just internal, it's relational. Kathleen introduces a simple yet powerful framework for nurturing social health, the 5-3-1 guideline. It's easy to remember. Interact with 5 different people each week, deepen 3 close relationships, and spend 1 hour each day on meaningful connection. It doesn't have to be complicated or exhausting. It's small, consistent actions that keep your social bonds alive and thriving. Here's the kicker. Nurturing these connections isn't just nice to have. Studies show strong social ties directly impact your health, your mood, and even your longevity. In other words, investing in your relationships is as critical as exercising or eating well. It's foundational to living a more fulfilling life. So as you think about stepping away from screens and reconnecting with real life, remember, it's not just about quiet or calm. It's about creating space to connect with the people who make life truly meaningful. These choices aren't restrictions. They aren't punishments. They're reconnections to your mind, your body, your relationships, your purpose, and your actual life. Because at the end of the day, the goal isn't simply to unplug from technology. It's to reconnect with yourself. And that is where the real transformations begin. Here's something I want you to really sit with. Not rush past, but genuinely feel in your body. If your phone wasn't in your hand, what part of your life would finally have the space to speak to you again? What dream has been waiting patiently in the background? What relationship has been surviving in the leftovers of your attention? What part of you has been whispering for years, hoping you'd eventually turn down the digital noise long enough to hear it? Because the truth is, our attention isn't just something we give away. It's something we invest. And whatever receives it grows. So imagine, just for a moment, redirecting even a fraction of that energy back into your own life, into the people who love you, into the goals that matter, into the creativity you keep saying you don't have time for, into the peace your nervous system has been begging you for. One shift, one intentional pause can change your entire inner world. Not because the phone disappears, but because you reappear. And that small reclamation of presence, that is where transformation begins. Now we'll be answering some listener questions about digital detoxing. Remember, you can reach out anytime with your questions or messages at powercoachsusie.com. I'd love to hear from you. Here's our first question. I keep deleting social apps and re-downloading them. How do I make a detox stick? Oh, I hear you. And let me start by saying you are so not alone. This is one of the most common things I hear from listeners and clients. And honestly, it's not about willpower. It's really about how your brain is wired. Every notification, every like, every scroll gives your brain a tiny hit of dopamine, a little burst of pleasure. Over time, your brain starts craving those micro rewards, almost like a sugar addiction. That's what scientists call a dopamine loop. So when you delete an app, your brain goes, wait, where's my hit? And before you know it, boom, you're back to re-downloading it. Here's the truth. A digital detox doesn't work if it's just subtraction. You can't just take something away and expect the space to stay empty. Your brain will fill it. And if you don't give it something better, you'll end up back in the same loop, frustrated and guilty. So here's the trick. It's not about giving up, it's about replacing. You're not breaking a habit, you're building a better one. Think of it like this. Imagine your attention is a garden. Social apps have been planting weeds, constantly demanding your energy and pulling nutrients from the soil. A detox is your chance to clear the weeds. But if you don't plant flowers, your garden will feel empty and your brain will crave something to grow again. Those flowers are your nourishing habits. Morning routines that start with intention instead of notifications. Hobbies that pull you into the flow, into the movement that wakes up your body and your mind. And really, some connection with real people who make you laugh, feel seen, or maybe even inspire you. Here's how it can look like in practice. Start with a morning routine that doesn't include your phone. Sip your coffee or tea, journal for 5 or 10 minutes, stretch or sit in silence and breathe. When you feel the pull to scroll, pause and ask yourself, what am I really seeking right now? Is it boredom, escape, connection? Then redirect that energy. Go for a walk outside. Bake something for the sheer joy of creating. Call a friend who makes you laugh or pick up a book that sparks your imagination. The key here is that you're actively creating new ways to satisfy the same cravings your apps were hijacking. Pleasure, engagement, curiosity, connection, but in ways that can actually feed you. You're telling your brain, yes, I can get joy, inspiration, and connection with others, but it's coming from things that matter, not empty scrolling. And don't stress if it doesn't stick perfectly at first. Treat it like an experiment. Start with small wins, maybe a tech-free morning or 1 hour at night or a weekend mini detox. Notice how your energy shifts, how your mood feels, how your creativity wakes up, and track those habits that make you feel alive, present, and grounded. That's your proof that detox is working. And your brain will slowly stop pulling you back to the apps because it's finally learning that real nourishing rewards exist offline. So here's the question I want you to ask yourself. What am I creating in the space I've been giving to my phone? Shift your focus from absence to presence. Reclaim your attention, your energy, your peace. When you do that, the detox stops feeling like deprivation and starts feeling like a return to yourself, to your life, and to the things that actually make you feel alive. Here's our next question. I feel disconnected from people when I spend less time online. How do I fix that? Now this is a feeling so many people don't talk about, but it's real. When you start spending less time online, you might feel a little lost, like suddenly you're missing something, like you're not in the loop. Psychology Today's Social Instincts blog points out that this is entirely normal. Digital detoxing often exposes gaps in our real-world connections, moments we've been filling with likes, comments, and endless scrolling rather than genuine interactions with others. That discomfort you feel, that's actually an invitation. It's your life nudging you toward the kind of connection that really nourishes your heart. The key is to start small and intentional. You don't need to throw yourself into a social whirlwind to feel reconnected. Begin with simple, meaningful gestures. Invite a friend for coffee or tea. Send a voice note instead of a text, or plan a walk where you can generally talk and be present. These moments, tiny as they may seem, are where real connection is built. Unlike digital interactions, these encounters engage all of your senses. You see expressions, hear tone, you feel the energy. Your brain registers it differently. Your heart remembers it. Here's the critical shift. Connection is not measured in likes, shares, or followers. It's measured in the moments when someone feels your presence and when you invest your full attention. So when you unplug, it may feel uncomfortable at first, like something is missing, but that discomfort is actually a signal. It's your body and mind saying, hey, I'm ready for real, nourishing connections. Think of it like stretching a muscle that's been dormant. At first, it feels awkward and a little tight, but with each intentional interaction, one coffee, one phone call, one walk, it grows stronger. Over time, those connections deepen and you realize you're no longer adding friends to a digital list. You're building relationships that actually last, relationships that feel alive, tangible, and grounding. So if you're feeling disconnected, don't panic. Lean into it. Let that discomfort guide you. Take the first step towards someone you care about, even in a small offline way, because that's where connection truly lives. Beyond the screen, in the moments you create and remember. So take a moment to really ask yourself, am I truly living my life? Or am I just watching it unfold on a screen? Notice the answer, and it could be uncomfortable at first, but that discomfort is powerful. It's your mind nudging you towards awareness. Even scrolling, every notification you get, every quick check, it really steals a piece of your presence. And every moment you reclaim, every choice to look up, to engage, to connect, is a chance to participate fully in your own story. That single question has the power to shift how you show up tomorrow, not just in small ways, but in how you invest your attention, your energy, and your presence in the life you actually want to live. Here's the question again. Am I truly living my life, or am I just watching it unfold on a screen? I now would like to share a discussion I had with a client that really highlights the kind of transformation a digital detox can create and why it's so powerful for anyone feeling burnt out, overstimulated, or disconnected. I was working with a client recently when she walked into our session. She looked exhausted. She said to me, Susie, I feel like my mind is never quiet anymore. I can't even remember what it's like to just be. And as we unpacked her day, it became clear why. From the moment she woke up, she was in a constant stream of digital input. Notifications, emails, group chats, videos, news alerts, social media updates, and reminders. She hadn't had a single uninterrupted moment of silence in months. It was like her brain had become a busy highway, and she was stuck in traffic 24/7. Never able to pull over and catch her breath. We started small because transformation doesn't have to be dramatic. It just has to be intentional. We created a 20-minute evening digital detox. Just 20 minutes where she completely stepped away from her phone and screens. Sometimes she would journal, letting her thoughts spill on paper, her worries or frustrations, even some victories from the day, maybe some gratitude. Other nights, she would sit quietly with a warm cup of tea, noticing the simple things, the way the steam rose, the smell of her drink, the stillness around her. On some nights, she played soft music or looked out the window watching the sunset. These weren't big revolutionary acts. They were small, deliberate gestures of self-care. Also, a reclaiming of her own time and attention. Within a week, she started noticing shifts. She felt calmer, her thoughts were clearer, and she was able to engage with her partner without feeling mentally scattered. She even told me, Susie, I didn't realize how much I was missing just by being glued to my phone. It feels like I'm really here again. And that's precisely what happens when you create intentional space. Your mind begins to breathe again and your presence comes back online. And let me be honest, because I want you to see that this isn't just theory. I've been there too. I remember a season in my life where I was juggling my podcast and my stuff on TV, my writing, my coaching, my social life that never slowed down. At night, I would reach for my phone to relax, scrolling through the feeds, checking messages, catching up on notifications. But instead of resting, I felt drained. My mind wasn't resting. I was escaping. Was I connecting to myself and the people around me? No. I was running on autopilot. My turning point came when I realized that if I want to reclaim my energy, my creativity, and peace, I had to replace those habits rather than remove them intentionally. I began creating simple grounding rituals, journaling for 10 minutes before bed, sipping a warm cup of tea mindfully, taking a short evening walk to notice the air, or even just sitting quietly for a few moments without distractions. At first, it felt almost too small to matter, but slowly, everything shifted. My sleep improved, my mind felt clearer, and I started waking up with a sense of calm instead of fatigue. I felt present again, both with myself and others. Here's something I want you to notice. When you detox your digital life, you're not losing connection. You're regaining it. You're reconnecting with yourself, with the people around you, and with the moments that actually make life meaningful. Even small intentional pockets of time, like 20 minutes in the evening, a phone-free meal, a mindful morning, can create profound shifts. You start to notice the way conversation feels when your attention is fully there. You begin to see beauty in small everyday moments. You start to feel the rhythm of your life instead of watching it scroll by. So here's what I want you to do. Reflect on your own day. Where are you allowing constant digital stimulation to fill up the space meant for presence? Where could you carve out just 10 or 20 minutes for yourself, without your phone, without distractions, fully alive and awake? Because those moments, small as they may seem, are the moments where clarity, calm, and genuine connection are born. Remember, this isn't about perfection, and it's not about extremes. It's about reclaiming your attention, your energy, your peace, your life, one intentional pause at a time. And when you do that, you realize that your digital life doesn't control you. You do. A digital detox isn't about restriction or punishment. It's about restoration, reclaiming and choosing yourself. It's about giving your mind a break from endless stimulation so that clarity, calm, and emotional balance can return. It's about noticing the subtle ways constant scrolling and notifications have been fragmenting your attention, your creativity, and your relationships, and then choosing to step back even just a little to reconnect with what truly matters. When you create space in your life, you make room for intentional living. You rediscover the joy in simple offline moments. Conversation that makes you laugh until your cheeks hurt. A quiet walk that restores perspective. A hobby that reminds you what it feels like to be fully present. You begin to reclaim your attention as a resource, something you invest wisely rather than give away by default to endless digital noise. A digital detox also strengthens relationships. It allows you to show up fully for people who matter rather than half present through screens. It really reminds you that real connection happens in shared experiences, eye contact, and heartfelt conversations, not in likes, comments, or emojis. Most importantly, it reconnects you to yourself. You begin to notice your thoughts, your feelings, and your needs again. You see the small joys that have been dulled by constant digital input. You remember that your life is happening right here, right now, not just in the scrollable highlights of someone else's feed. So here's what to take away. Even small intentional choices matter. Protect 10 to 20 minutes for yourself each day. Turn off non-essential notifications. Replace mindless scrolling with journaling, movement, or a connection to someone who uplifts you. Step away from toxic content and interactions and curate your digital life like you curate your closet. Keep only what fits, what feels good, and what serves your growth. A digital detox is more than a break. It's a return to presence, purpose, and peace. It's really a chance to show up for yourself, your relationships, and your life in ways you didn't realize were possible until you unplugged. When you do this, you don't lose your connection. You reclaim it. And that's the kind of restoration that transforms not just your day, but your entire inner world. Here's our affirmation to close out the day. My attention is mine. My presence is powerful. I choose what nourishes me. Say it slowly, say it with intention. Let your body and mind feel the difference. So repeat with me. My attention is mine. My presence is powerful. I choose what nourishes me. My attention is mine. My presence is powerful. I choose what nourishes me. My attention is mine. My presence is powerful. I choose what nourishes me. When you honor your attention and presence, you create space for what truly matters in your life. Thank you for being here and stepping into your power with me today. I look forward to seeing you next week for another empowering conversation. You can catch these episodes anytime on my podcast, Signals and Standards with Susie, available on all your favorite listening platforms, including Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube, and the Blast the Radio app. For daily inspiration and practical advice, find me on social media at Power Coach Susie. Got questions or ideas for the show? Head to powercoachsusie.com where you can connect with me, explore the blog, or learn more about what I do. This is Susie signing off. Until next time, keep reading the signals and never, ever lower your standards.